Good evening, Sir Winmar Cabelan. Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. I am Roel Jean A. Fabriga. Uh, this is my video presentation discussing the salient features of the rules of criminal procedure from Rule 110 to 126. So first, let me determine what is criminal procedure. So criminal procedure, it is a method prescribed by law for the apprehension and prosecution of persons accused in any crime, any offenses committed in order to provide for their punishment in case of conviction. So, when we say criminal procedure, it is remedial and procedural. It determines of how the act is to be punished, and it provides also that the persons, the accused of the crime committed, is to be arrested, tried, and to be punished. So, what is the concern of the criminal procedure? So, criminal procedure concerned with the procedural steps of the criminal cases to be passed with the initial investigation, concluding the conditional release of the offender. So let's go to the first rule, the 100 rule 110, the prosecution of an offense. So how can we institute a criminal action? So according to the rule, paragraph A, that for the complaint or affirmation is required a preliminary investigation. It should be filed with the uh, proper person who is authorized to conduct a preliminary investigation. In the paragraph B, it states that for all other offenses, the complaint or information should be filed directly to the MTC or the office of the prosecutor. So let's determine what is complaint. So complaint, it is our sworn written statement charging a person of an offense. It should be signed with the offended party, any peace officer, and any public officer who is in charge for the law violated. Then, what is information? The information, it is acquisition of the persons of an offense, signed with the prosecutor only, and it should be filed directly to the court. So, what is the difference between complaint and information? So, when we say complaint is it should be filed by the offended party to the prosecutor in order that the prosecutor will investigate this complaint, to determine that it has whether it has probable cause or not. When the prosecution or prosecutor determine believes that this complaint that has a probable cause, the information is to be created to be passed to the court. So that's the difference between the complaint and the information. So how can we say that a complaint or information is valid? So according to the rule, there are 6 requisites. Number 1, the name of the accused. Number 2, the designation of an offense. Number 3, the acts or omission as of the constituted offense. Number 4, the name of the offended party also. Number 5, the approximate time and date of the offense, and lastly, the place of the offense has been committed. So what is venue? So venue, it is a place where the crime has been committed, and with the authority of the court to be passed the complaint or information that has authority to try the said case. When we see jurisdiction is the jurisdiction over the court of for the offenses to be tried. For an instance, when the offense filed is with the offense filed is punishable by 6 years and above, it should be filed by the RTC, the RTC, or the regional trial court. But if the offense is below 6 years, it should be filed in the MTC. So let us proceed to the next rule, which is the 111, or the prosecution of civil action. So as general rule, it states that when a criminal action has been instituted, the civil action for the recovery of civil liability arising from the offense charged under revised penal code Article 100, it is deemed constituted with the criminal action. So when we say when there are general rule, there are also exceptions. So what are the exceptions? There are 3 exceptions with this rule. So number 1, when the offended party has when the offended party waives the civil action. Number 2, when the offended party deem his right to separate the civil action with the criminal action. And lastly, when the offended party has instituted the civil action prior to the criminal action. So what is it mean under the Article 100 revised penal code? So it states that when a person is criminally liable, he is also civilly liable, because there are 2 offended parties that the accused has been offended. So the number 1 is the state, and number 2 is the private offended party. So is there any instance that the civil action cannot be deemed instituted to the criminal action that under revised penal code Article 100? Yes, there is. When it talks about the independent civil action under Article 32, 33, and 34, and 2176 of Civil Code, it cannot be instituted with the criminal action. So when the reservation should be made? So the reservation should be made before the prosecution will present as evidence. So the purpose of this is to prevent the double recovery of the said civil action. So when we can say that the civil action can be suspended, so according to this rule, as general rule, that when criminal action commence, the separate civil action arising cannot be constituted until the final judgment of the criminal action. And even though the criminal action filed after the civil action, the civil action shall be suspended at any stage, and it should be wait for the judge to final judgment to be rendered to the criminal action. So what is the exception? The exception is when the civil action has a prejudicial question. So what is prejudicial question? So prejudicial question is a base or a fact separate and distinct of the crime, but intimately related to, in order to determine the guilt or innocence of the accused. So let's proceed to the next rule, the 112, rule 112, or the preliminary investigation. So what is preliminary investigation? So a preliminary investigation is an inquiry or proceeding to determine that there are sufficient ground to engender a well-founded belief that a crime has been committed, and the respondent is probably guilty thereof and shall be held for trial. So when it is required, so with a complete information, it has preliminary prosecution required for all offenses as amended from 4 years, 2 months, and 1 day. It amends to 6 years and 1 day for all offenses that punishable by 6 years and 1 day as amended. So except if the accused was lawful arrest without warrant, the complaint information or shall be filed without a preliminary investigation unless the accused waives asks for preliminary investigation and waives his rights under the Article 125 of Revised Penal Code. So, who may conduct preliminary investigation. So, it should be conducted by provincial or city prosecutors under assistance, judge in MTCs, national and regional prosecutors, COMELEC, respect to the election of offenses, and as well as the ombudsman, or etc., according with the law. So next, let's proceed to the Rule 113, which is the arrest. So let's determine what is arrest. So arrest is a taking of a person into the custody, whether that he be bound to answer for the commission of an offense. So how can arrest shall be made? So an arrest shall be made with the actual restraint of a person to be arrested, or his submission to the custody by the person who is making an arrest. So when should the arrest shall be made? So an arrest shall be made at any day, at any time, day and night. So there is no expiration of the warrant of arrest, but it should be executed by the assigned officer within 10 days period. So it should be the officer in charge for the execution should report directly to the judge before the expiration of the warrant of arrest. If he cannot execute that, he should stipulate his reasons. So there are two types of warrant of two types of arrest. First is the warrant of arrest, and the second is the warrantless arrest. So let's tackle the warrant of arrest. So the warrant of arrest, it should be made by the judge to be passes the competitive or the authorized enforcement officer to execute such warrant of arrest to be arrested to that specific respondent or accused. When a warrantless arrest is arresting a person without warrant. So how can we say that our warrantless arrest is valid? So there are three grounds of the warrantless arrest should be valid according to section 5 of this rule. That number one, that a warrantless arrest shall be valid within the presence of an officer. Person is commit and committed a crime or in flagrante delicto or caught in the act. Secondly, if the crime has been committed and it has the personal knowledge to believe that there are reasonable there are probable cause to be believed that the crime has been committed, or what we see the hot pursuit within the personal knowledge of the enforcement officer to be believed that the crime has been committed. Lastly is the escaped prisoner, or a person which is previously escaped from prisoner can be arrested without a warrantless arrest. Next is the Rule 114, which is bail. So the short definition of bail is the a given security of a person for a temporary release from the custody. So bail shall be will be formed in corporate surety, recognizance, property bond, and cash deposit. So when can we say a bail is a matter of right? So in MTC or municipal trial court, it is a matter of right before or after conviction. But in RTC, it is a matter of right before conviction only, except if the offense were punishable by reclusion perpetua or death imprisonment. In such case, it will be discretionary by the court. So, however, if the judgment of the regional trial court change the nature of an offense from non-bailable to bailable, the application for bail shall be resolved by the appellate court. So next is the Rule 115, or the rights of the accused. So The Rule 115 enumerates the rights of the accused, including the right to be presumed innocence and the right to have a speedy trial and the right to be informed the charges. These rights are fundamental, ensuring a fair trial for the accused. So that is the essence of Rule 115. So in Rule 115, there are two different due process, which is the substantive due process and procedural due process. So when we say substantive due process, it is the intrinsic validity of the law. It protects within the fundamental rights of the accused. Procedural due process, it is the to determine judgment basis on the facts given by the both parties in order to ensure the fairness of the judgment by the court. So next rule is the 116, or the arraignment and plea. So the ruling is that the accused must be arraigned before court where the complaint has been filed and assigned for trial. So how should an arraignment shall be made? So it should made upon by open court with the presence of the clerk and the judge, and furnishing the accused with the complaint or information, reading it with language that was known to him, and ask him to plead guilty or not guilty. So when should the arraignment shall be held? So the accused shall be arraigned within 30 days from the date the court acquires the jurisdiction over the persons of the accused. Next, we now tackle about the Rule 117, the motion to quash. So what is motion to quash? Motion to quash is the invalidate the defects and irregularities of the complaint or information. So the accused shall be moved to quash the information before at any time before entering his plea, and it should be in writing, signed by him and as well as on his counsel. Lastly, he should stipulate the grounds for quashing the information. So what are the grounds of to quash the said complaint or information? So there are 9 grounds. So number 1, if the fact charge has not if the fact charge does not constitute an offense. Number 2, if the court has no jurisdiction over the offense charge. Number 3, if the court has no jurisdiction over the persons of the accused. Number 4, if the person who filed the information has no authority to do so. Number 5 is does not prescribed by the form or the format of the complaint information. Number 6, that has duplicity more than one offense has been charged, except when it provides by in a one single punishment in accordance with the law. Number 7, the prescription of liability. Number 8 is the when averments has been made, which is the if it true, it will be constipulate justification, formal justification of an offense. Number 9 is the what we see the double jeopardy, or if the person has been convicted or acquittal and charged again with the same offense, it may be false for double jeopardy. So that are the 9 grounds of the motion to quash the information. So number 1, so the fact charge does not the facts charged does not constitute an offense, so by filing a complaint or information, it should be stipulate the exact offense of the crime was committed. So in order to determine by the prosecution that this is the offense that has been committed by the accused. So number two, if the court has no jurisdiction over the charged offense charge. So for an instance, if the offense charged by the complaint of permission has been is punishable by reclusion perpetua, so it not should be filed in the MTC. It should be filed by the higher courts like RTC, because RTC has the right to has authorized has the authority to 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 trial that case. Number three is the court has no jurisdiction over the persons of the accused, just like the just like the case of the Laila de Lima in the case of 2017. So Laila de Lima was moves to quash the complaint information. It's because the information was filed by the RTC. In fact, that Laila de Lima is Justice Secretary that time, which is Regional Trial Court is under of her position. So it should be filed with the right authorized court like Sandigang Bayan, since Laila de Lima is a government employee or government official. So number four, if this does not if the person who filed information has no authority to do so, so the information, if the information shall be filed only by the prosecution to the court, not only by any police officer like policeman, law enforcement officer. It should be filed by the prosecution to the court. So number five, it should be confirmed with substantially with the prescribed form. It should by filing an information, it must be nakasunod sa exact form that is given by the law. Number six, if duplicitous one or more offense has been filed, it should be one offense and one information with accordance of the Rule 110, Section 13, the duplicity of a crime, except if the crime has been connected to each other, the offense was connected, therefore it will be provide a single punishment for the multiple crimes on it with the prescribed of the law. Number 7 is the prescription of criminal liability, like with the form of amnesty, absolute pardon, prescription of crime, prescription of penalty. Number 8 is the when it interposes a lawful defense, like there should be a averments if you interposes if it stipulates it's true, it should stipulate the self-defense self-defense, like self-defense, defense of relatives, self-defense. And lastly is the double jeopardy, when a person or the accused has been convicted or acquitted with a previous offense, it should not be filed against again with the same offense against the accused. It will violate his rights for double jeopardy. Next is the pre-trial in the Rule 118. So according to the ruling, pre-trial is mandatory in all criminal cases to cognizable by the Sandigang Bayan, RTC, MTC, and MCTCs. So it shall be conducted after the arraignment within 30 days after the arraignment by the jurisdiction of the court, by the jurisdiction of the court by the persons of the accused. So what happened in pre-trial? So in pre-trial, there will be a plea bargaining, stipulation of facts, marking of evidence, objection of the admissibility of evidence, which case the facts charged will interposes a lawful defense, Lastly, if other matters that promote expeditious and speedy trial. What is pre-trial order? So pre-trial order is the recital of the action taking, the stipulation of evidence, marking of evidence. So next is the trial. So after the accused pleads after the accused enters his plea of not guilty, therefore the accused shall give it a 15 days for the preparation for the trial, and the trial shall be held within the 30 days upon the receipt of the pre-trial order. So uh, uh, how long should a trial shall be last the trial last? So it will be last within 180 days from the trial, except if authorized by the Supreme Court. So in overall, trial is the heart of the criminal process, where the prosecution and defense present their evidence and arguments. Witnesses are examined and cross-examined, and the court evaluates the evidence. It emphasizes the principle of speedy trial, ensuring the justice is delivered promptly while respecting the rights of both the accused and the state. So, next rule is the Rule 121, which is the new trial and reconsideration. So, what is new trial and what is reconsideration? So, in new trial, the case is open again after judgment for the reception of the new evidence and further proceedings. It is only proper after rendition or promulgation of judgment, and in the reconsideration, on the other hand, the case is not reopened for the further proceeding. The court is merely asked to reconsider its findings in law in order to make them conformable to the law applicable to the case. So, what are the grounds of new trial? So there are three grounds of new trial. So the first ground is the errors of law, irregularities of prejudicial to the substantial rights of the accused has been committed during trial, or what we say the errors of law and irregularities. And the number two ground is the new and material evidence has been discovered, which the accused could not with reasonable diligence have discovered to produce the trial, and which it introduced the admitted would probably change the nature of the judgment. So what we call the newly discovered evidences. So number three, the if the case was being heard by say or EC Supreme Court, it may determine the other grounds and exercise of its discretion. So there are grounds. What are the grounds for reconsideration? So the grounds for reconsideration, errors of the law and the fact in the promulgation of the judgment. So the motion for new trial of reconsideration should be in writing, state the grounds which it is based. Then if it is based in newly discovered evidence for new trial, it should be supported with the affidavits of witness, of whom such evidence is to expect to be given authenticated copies of documents and introduced with evidence. Notice the motion for new trial for reconsideration should be given to the proper or competitive prosecutor. So the next rule is the Rule 122, which is the appeal. So after the neutral requisition, we should be appeal. So in 22, it allows to seek the higher courts to review the trial court's decision. Appeals are typically based on questions of law or substantial procedural errors. This rule ensures that the errors at the trial level can be corrected, maintaining the integrity of the justice system. So, in Rule 123, the Procedure of Municipal Trial Courts, or MTCs, it provides guidance for the conduct of criminal cases in municipal trial courts. These courts handles such serious offense, such violations or city or municipal ordinances, and minor criminal cases. So, this rule emphasizes the simplified procedure of expedite and resolution of cases ensuring accessibility and efficiency of the administration of justice in a local level. So in Rule 124, it is the procedure of the Court of Appeals. So it governs the handling of criminal cases elevated to the Court of Appeals. So it outlines the procedure for filing appeals from regional trial courts. So the Court of Appeals it reviews the case based on the records and brief submitted, focusing in errors of law or fact. This rule it ensures also thorough a fair review of decisions to maintain judicial integrity. So the procedure of the Supreme Court, or the higher courts, the highest courts, the Supreme Court, it applies to a criminal cases brought before to the Supreme Court, which is final or arbiter of legal disputes. The rule details of the for the filing petitions for review or certiorari, which are limited to questions of law. So this Supreme Court's rule, under this rule, it is ensured to the lower court's decision comply with the Constitution and applicable laws, safeguarding justice. So the last rule of the rules of criminal procedure is the 126, which is the search and seizure. This applicable to search warrant. So let us determine what is search warrant. So search warrant, it is an order in writing issued in the name of the people of the Philippines, signed by the judge, and directed to the peace officer. So it commanding him to search and for personal property described therein and bring it before the court. So where should the application for search warrant be filed? So as general rule, it should be filed with the court within the whose territorial jurisdiction the crime was been committed. But the exception, but for compelling reasons, it can be filed with the court within whose or judicial region the offense was committed, or where the warrant is to be served. So there are requisites of issuing a warrant. So the first is there must be a probable cause. Number two, which must be determined personally by the judge. Number three, upon personal examination in writing and under oath of the complainant and his witness in the form of searching questions and answers on the facts personally known to them. Number four is the probable cause must be in the connection with the specific said offense has been committed. And the five, the particular describing of the place to be searched and the items to be seized. And lastly, the sworn statement together with affidavits of the witness and must be attached to the record. What are the requisites for personal examination that the judge must conduct before issuing a warrant? So there are requisites for a judge to conduct before issuing a warrant. So the judge must examine the witness personally. Number two, it is under oath. And number three, it is reduced to writing in the form of searching questions and answers. So we are now done with the rules of criminal procedure. So my conclusion about the rules of the criminal procedures, particularly rules from 110 to 126. It is a form, the backbone of the criminal justice system. It ensures the justice administered by fairly, protecting the rights of the both accused and by the state. By understanding these rules, we appreciate the balance, the strike between accountability and safeguarding individual freedoms. So that would be all. This is my video presentation again, sir. So have a great day. God bless and thank you.